this lesson, we explore the texturing process for a 3D model of a lawn chair, outlining each step needed to create realistic and visually compelling materials. We will use one of the most advanced texturing tools available, Substance 3D Painter, renowned for its versatility and precision in producing high-quality texture for gaming, architectural visualization, product design, and cinematic-grade rendering. The process begins by importing the 3D model of the chair into Substance 3D Painter. Once the model is imported, we perform texture baking using the command mode bake mesh map. Disable world space normal, select ID, mesh ID polygroups. For ambient occlusion, enable flat ground plane and set a value of 0.1. Disable curvature, also disable thickness. After baking the selected texture, return to the main screen by selecting Return to Painting Mode. The first step is to texture the leather element of the seat. To begin, an existing parametric material from the library is assigned. On the later strip, access various settings that allow us to fine-tune the parametric texture to achieve the desired effect. These settings include adjustment for roughness, specularity, and reflectivity, which are essential for simulating the natural variation found in leather. By modifying these parameters, we gain control over how light interacts with the surface, adding depth and enhancing the material's realism. To complete the effect, adjust the color of the texture by selecting 3 different shades of black, creating a more natural and lifelike appearance. Adjust the texture size using the tiling command to achieve a more realistic dimension, and fine-tune the skin grain parameters to reduce the intensity of the normal map effect. The next step is to create the leather's glossy effect. In Substance Painter, we create masks to apply different effects to specific areas of the objects. Select a texture from the library to create an irregular effect and then add it to the layer panel. Next, create a black mask for the texture and using the brush tool, paint and modify the object, applying the glossy effect only to certain areas. This technique gives us greater control and precision in achieving the desired look. To use the brush tool, first select it from the toolbar. Once selected, adjust the size and flow the brush in the brush setting panel. The flow setting controls the intensity of the stroke, allowing us to build the effect gradually. The opacity setting adjusts how transparent or visible the glossy effect will be. Once the black mask is selected in the layer, begin painting with a soft, round brush. To apply the glossy effect, paint the areas where we want shine. If we need to refine the edges, we can adjust the blur or softness settings of the brush to create smoother transitions between matte and glossy sections. Control the glossiness effect in the roughness map, where shinier parts appear darker. Apply the same technique to create a fill layer and add different shading effect within the seat. In this case, we apply a mask and use a white fill to control the shading, allowing subtle variation in the texture that enhance the depth and realism of the seat's appearance. In the same way, create a fill layer to define the color of the metal elements. Additionally, apply a procedural texture to the roughness channel to simulate variation in glossiness and replicate the irregularities typical of metal surfaces, thereby enhancing the realism of the metal components. To create a realistic wooden material in Substance Painter, first create a fill layer to define the base color of the material. Choose a shade of brown that best represents the type of wood we want, establishing the foundation color of the material. Next, Add a second fill layer with a darker shade of brown to create the wood grain. Apply a black mask to the layer and insert a grayscale texture from the texture category in the library. This texture generates the pattern of the wood grain, enhancing the visual detail of the material. Finally, create a third fill layer with a lighter shade to introduce highlights and subtle variation in the material. Also, apply a black mask here and use a procedural texture to achieve a natural, balanced effect. By combining these three layers, base color, wood grain, and highlights, we give the wood texture depth and realism. Each layer remains fully editable, so we can make adjustments to suit the specific needs of our project. The texture export process in Substance Painter is highly flexible, allowing us to create various file formats to ensure compatibility with different workflows. To begin exporting textures, select Export Textures from the File menu. A dialog window opens where we can configure the export settings. One of the key features is the ability to choose from a variety of file formats depending on our specific needs. For example, we generally use PNG and JPEG for standard textures, while EXR is ideal for high dynamic range textures or when greater precision is required in terms of lighting and reflectivity. Additionally, we can customize the resolution and bit depth, bits per channel, to ensure the textures meet the desired quality and performance standards. For instance, we typically use 8-bit textures for general workflows, while 16-bit and 32-bit textures are preferable when we need higher detail or greater color depth, especially in complex materials like HDR environments or detailed bump maps. Substance 3D Painter also allows us to create and save custom export templates. These templates let us define a specific set of export settings tailored to our workflow or project requirements. For example, if we are working with a game engine that requires specific channels such as albedo, normal, roughness, and metalness in particular format and resolution, we can configure a template to automate this process. To create a custom export template, start by configuring the desired settings: file format, resolution, bit depth, and necessary channels. Once the settings are in place, click the Save Settings button in the Export window. We can then name the template and save it for future use. By using these flexible export options and custom templates, we can seamlessly integrate our textures into any workflow, whether for real-time application, high-quality rendering, or any other type of 3D project.